Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to this week's edition of the Sunday Wire. I'm your host, Patrick Henningsen. We're streaming out live on the Alternate Current Radio Network and also at 21stcenturywire.com. Thank you so much for joining us on this live broadcast, special live broadcast here, episode 530 of this weekly omnibus news analysis radio program. That means we've been doing the show for over a decade, which is pretty incredible considering humble beginnings at the Alternate Current Radio Network so long ago. Still trucking, still covering some of the biggest stories, both domestically and internationally. If in the United States, we do a fair bit of domestic, especially around election time. And certainly this month is no exception. I am joined by my cohort in this discussion. We'll bring on to the stage once again, Hesher, Bryan McClain, aka Hesher, host of the Boiler Room on ACR, and former TNT Radio State of the Nation. Adam Ruckus Clark, as well, the Daily Ruckus, great program on ACR. I'll throw up your show graphics, both of you guys. Here's the Boiler Room, ladies and gentlemen. Hesher will give a shout out to that. And Hesher, when can people tune into the Boiler Room live? How often do you broadcast? Where can they find it?
We are weekly, typically on Thursday nights at alternatecurrentradio.com. And of course, going out via video to our Rumble channel, our Rockfin channel, sometimes our YouTube channel. Been a little bit more active on YouTube lately. And yeah, you can find us there every Thursday night, usually start around 8 p.m. Central Time, 9 p.m. Eastern Time. This week, we were going to do one yesterday. Well, actually, Thursday's Boiler Room, we pushed off because it was Spore's birthday. Happy birthday, Spore. And we were going to do one last night, but we spent so much time on this in the Twitter space, the X space, we decided to push it off. So our next Boiler Room will probably be tonight. So you're going to want to keep an eye on our Twitter accounts, our X accounts, our YouTube, our Rumble, all that good stuff. You can find Boiler Room on X at Hesher Media. You can see that down there on the screen. That's my handle on Twitter. And I'll let Adam speak for the Daily Ruckus. Very similar. You can find it at alternatecurrentradio.com.
Yeah, Ruckus, tell us about the Daily Ruckus. What have you got going? Last episode, new episodes?
Yeah, the Daily Ruckus, don't let the name fool you. Unfortunately, it's not quite daily, but I get them out when I can. Usually on average every 3 days, but that sometimes means I got one every day, and then I got a few days where there's nothing. So luckily you can find me doing things like this on other programs at ACR, like Sunday Wire and Boiler Room. Of course, I'm on whenever we do it. I'm always there, with one exception. The one exception I was not on Boiler Room. We had our YouTube channel temporarily deleted, so I make sure to be there every time, just in case. But yeah, so just, if you just stay tuned to Alternate Current Radio, or if you find the Daily Ruckus through one of your favorite podcasting platforms, you know how to subscribe to get notifications turned on, or to have an RSS feed. So you can get notifications when my newest show is available. But my new thing has been X. Lots of people find me there. So just follow my X account. That's AC_wordslinger. And that's where you will find postings of my show. And then, of course, always go to alternatecurrentradio.com. I have a whole show page, all the most recent episodes right there. So fun and easy. And since I'm doing Ruckus Vision, that's where you get to watch the videos. If you don't want to go log into, like, say, Rumble, you can just watch the video embed right there at alternatecurrentradio.com. Makes it fun and easy. I've been doing a 12 Days of Ruckus, a holiday themed series currently, all around, based around the 12 Days of Ruckus. So I've just been having fun testing my creativity and getting clever with having to do each separate day. So, like, instead of a partridge in a pear tree, it was a bunch of drones in New Jersey. My latest one was 7 sharks of swimming, stuff like that. My next episode, which would be available either tonight or tomorrow, I'm guessing tomorrow because we're doing Boiler Room, will be 8 fakes of faking. That's what I'm doing for the next episode. So you get the idea.
7 sharks of swimming, 9 Teslas on fire. So I wasn't going to announce this, but obviously it's a big announcement. Pretty soon, there's a big podcaster who's coming to America under duress, probably, and ACR is in talks of signing new talent. And it's going to be a huge show. I know you didn't want to leak this out, Hesher and Ruckus, but we're going to do it anyway. We're currently in talks with his people right now, and we really hope that we can bring this promising talent into our podcasting stable here. And the name of his show is going to be I'm Ukrainian. So I'm excited about this. I don't know about you, Hesher, but
Yeah,
Zelensky,
the Vlado cast. That's going to be great.
Vladovision. Vladovision. I think I'd like to see him in your little Ruckus Vision TV. Ruckus, like kind of a Max Hedger.
He'd be too tiny. The guy's too short, unfortunately.
Apparently, so Lex Friedman, who is a strange podcaster, I don't know how he is elevated to the level he's at, because it's like watching paint dry. But anyway, he's interviewed Zelensky, and he just tweeted it. I'm here with Zelensky, and they had a picture of both of them, and they're actually the same height. So I thought Lex Friedman was a lot taller, but apparently he's about 5'4". So there you go. Which is interesting. So he's a big fan of Zelensky, obviously. So that's why he's done the podcast. I can't imagine that's going to be objective journalism. There's going to be no tough questions being lobbed towards little Volo there. So that's interesting. Anyway, probably get a lot of views. That's great. He turned down Tucker.
Well, he's got the radio voice. I'll give Vlad that.
Oh, Vladimir. Yeah. Well, not Lex. Vladimir. I'm not sure. Yeah, Vladimir's definitely got the gravelly. He had a high-pitched camp voice when he was doing comedy, and even when he was running for president. And then when the war started, it went from high-pitched Russian accent to low-pitched, gravelly Ukrainian accent. So he's
so he thinks he's Batman, basically.
He's definitely embraced the part, and this is what happens when you go into character. Who was that? Ben Stiller. Simple Jack.
Yeah.
You got to be careful. If you go too deep into the character, then you can't get out, and that is dangerous. So I think that's what happened to Zelensky. He can't get out. Basically, they haven't let the guy change outfits in 3 years. I mean, his British handlers, his American handlers, won't let him wear normal civvy clothes. It'd be nice to see him in a tie again. Quite frankly.
Olive drab. It's gonna olive drab the rest of his life.
Like, yeah, the Benetton green t-shirt. It's anyway. Okay, so Hesher, you wanted to share some details. And by the way, we're also going to wrap up this New Orleans and Las Vegas conversation. After that, a lot of people have sent me DMs saying, are you going to talk about Elon Musk and his kind of meltdown on Twitter? In the last 24 to 48 hours, Elon Musk keeps doubling down on some seriously bad bets. He's calling, first it was free Tommy Robinson. Then he's like, we need to dissolve British Parliament. He's calling on Britain to dissolve their parliament. It's not exactly how the system works, but anyway. And now he is basically calling for the ouster of Nigel Farage from the Reform Party in the UK, because Farage isn't helping Tommy Robinson. Well, as it turns out, Elon's been pushing fake news about Tommy Robinson. We'll explain that and show you the facts of Tommy's case in a moment. But Elon's all about truth. He said that's his religion. He said, my religion is the truth, the relentless pursuit of the truth. Unfortunately, that doesn't extend to right-wing commentary and the Tommy Robinson canard. I think is the best way to describe it. But anyway, weird meltdown from Elon Musk. We'll talk about that in a moment. But where are we at right now? We're going to go back here. We'll bring up on screen. Hesher's shared this with us. Tell us what we're looking at.
So just a couple more things on this. And then I'd also like to highlight, if we could go back 3 weeks in time before all these events, I'd like to highlight just a short piece from Sarah Adams on that same podcast with Sean Ryan there, because that is another interesting piece of the puzzle. But MJ Truth Ultra posts on X, update, Cybertruck Trump Hotel Vegas bomber, full presser is available. It's out there on YouTube if you want to see it, but a lot of weird stuff. So MJ Truth Ultra has kind of pulled out some anomalies here. And this is what I'm talking about when I find it heartening that people are taking an analytical look at this and using the same tenets that we talked about last night on X and that we're talking about here today to analyze these things as a way to sort of bolster yourself from predatory mass media. But anyway, some bullet points. A partially burnt military ID and passport was found, IDing the suspect as Matthew Livelsberger, which we know. Some of these things we've covered. The body wasn't able to be removed for a long time because he was burnt beyond recognition. Several tattoos were partially identified on his stomach and arm, which makes them believe it's him. A Desert Eagle 50 caliber semi-automatic pistol, there you go, so it was 50 cal, was found, as well as an SLR model Bravo 30 firearm. I'm not familiar with that one. An iPhone, a smartwatch, and credit cards were also found. So the
Credit
iPhone,
cards
yeah, the
made of
credit cards
plastic,
didn't
right?
melt?
They're made of plastic, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Well, if the ID survived, certainly, of course, the credit cards have to survive, and if they survive, they have to be legible. They can't survive unless you can actually read the name of the holder, right?
Yeah,
Is that the rules of physics?
I would think so. Yeah, that sounds logical. And I would also assume that if the iPhone and the smartwatch were functional still, a lot of information could be gained about his communications, verifying some of these emails, his GPS positions, coming in and out of this location. A lot could be made if an honest investigation was going on. So we'll just leave
And
that.
in context, can I point out that he had said in his letter that he believed he was being followed? If you believed you were being followed, would you carry so many tracking devices with you? I just want to point that out.
Yeah, would you wear a Bluetooth tracker on your wrist if you were thought you were a targeted individual? I mean,
well, that's interesting, Hesher. I mean, started to do a little diversion here, but the beginning of the Sean Ryan podcast, I was talking about the tracking and all that, and those two guys, Sam Schumatt and Ryan, were talking about, oh my God, are my phones being tracked here? Who's tracking us? How did I forgot the internal FBI service of the military? How did they get a hold of this? Whatever, and then immediately Sean Ryan uses that as a segue to say, and speaking of tracking, you got to get the unplugged phone here. This is like Eric Prince's. Is that Eric Prince's phone from Blackwater?
Yeah, I think so.
It might be. You got to get the unplugged phone here. And maybe after he said, my phone's tracked. So Sean Ryan's is saying thinks his phone's tracked, but he uses the unplugged phone. So it's not I mean, there's a terrible ad for this. He's basically saying he's paranoid about being tracked, even though he's using Eric Prince's unplugged phone. I mean, that was kind of weird.
Yeah.
So I think he kind of fucked up on the plug product placement there. But I thought that was kind of funny. I mean, it's just a little bit of comic relief there. Sorry. But I had to throw that in there. It was,
yeah, it's a great point. Okay, he goes on to say another bullet point here. He sustained a gunshot wound to the head prior to the detonation of the vehicle, despite there being no reports of gunshots being heard just before. So again, no one.
How do they know it was before and not after? Maybe he blew himself up and then shot himself in the head.
Yeah, what's with the specific timeline there? How do they even know where the chicken and the egg are at this point? And a 50 caliber round, by the way, is a loud, very loud round. Ruckus and I were out yesterday at the range, and we shot a 450 Win Mag, and my goodness, that bullet's probably, I don't know, I couldn't tell you if it's bigger or not, but I'm guessing it's going to be a similar sound and concussion out of a 50 Deagle. And then, of course, there is he served in the military. Both subjects from the New Orleans attack and this man served at Fort Bragg. They also both served in Afghanistan. They also both used the same app to rent their vehicles, and I will add to that, from the same company. All right, both their vehicles were rented from the same company, and it's not one of the big name ones that you see, that at least it wasn't like Budget or Enterprise or one of those familiar ones to me.
Is it like a startup tech app for renting cars or something? Is that a
good question?
Could it be an Israeli company by any chance? I'm just throwing that out there as a question, innocent question.
Yeah.
Because they're really, good at tech. So just throwing that out there.
It's a good question, and I'll follow up on it because I have the name of the company somewhere stashed in my notes and tabs here. He traveled over 800 miles in the Cybertruck to Las Vegas. He made a number of stops before he arrived at the Trump Hotel.
How often did he have to stop to charge the car?
Yeah.
What, every 150 miles or something? There was a meme going around about that saying this is why he committed suicide. The amount of times he had to stop to charge the cyber. There's a terrible meme. It's very bad taste going around, but unfortunately, these things circulate.
Seems to be the norm now, doesn't it? I mean, look at what happened to the United Health CEO murder. I mean, that turned into a giant meme culture thing, and there was we talked on last time we did the Boiler Room. We talked about the natural born killers effect, where Luigi started getting support and money and offers for relationships from fans, basically.
Yep. The Tom Jones effect. Women were sending their knickers in the post to Luigi Mangione. I mean, I know it's crazy, but that's totally the natural born killers. That's kind of like where fiction and reality kind of overlap, and you get that weird sort of gray area reality there, where reality and media and Hollywood and people's imaginations. Sean Helton did a great article on natural born killers. We talked about that.
Oh yeah.
That's up at 21stcenturywire.com. Sean did a couple of the Fight Club one. Actually, that comes into play with some of this as well. Some of these stories, but anyway, I digress. Go ahead, Hesher.
Yeah, the Fight Club one was like Sean's magnum opus when it comes to film analysis. That one is absolutely awesome. Highly recommend.
Yep.
And shout out and Happy New Year to Sean. Hope you're well. Yeah, that's about it. They also note that the vehicle exploded within 17 seconds of arrival. So you arrive, and within 17 seconds you commit suicide, and then after you commit suicide, you set off a 4th of July, New Year's Eve style.
Why is he obsessed with the number 17 at the bottom in that post? Why does he say it just had to be 17? I don't get it.
I was going to admit that because I don't know what the esoteric reference is there, but
there is none. Was there multiple? Was there other references to other 17s?
Not that I've seen.
Yeah, I missed something. Okay, that's very strange. It makes no sense to me. And I look at the numbers. There's nothing to this 17 thing unless I'm missing something.
Yeah, so our numerologists out there, let us know in one of the chats if you can explain what MJ Truth is talking about there. And then if you're interested, I'm not going to play it, but if one is interested, the entire C-SPAN production of that, who was that? The LVMPD statement on it is available on that same tweet, so you can find it over there.
Yeah, that's interesting. So Hesher, I dropped you a couple of links as well to bring up as well if you want to, if you don't have any other visuals, if you want to share those as well. There's 3 stories I want to point people to when we're talking about what we call the daily shooter. And this is why we're, able to analyze these things so quickly and kind of figure out what's likely to happen, what's likely going on. And so one of the classic case studies for this is the Garland, Texas event, the Draw Mohammed cartoon contest. This was in May of 2015. And so we were following that real time on CNN. And we can kind of just gradually scroll down on this one. And you can kind of see they had a private security firm there, all special ops guys, waiting for a possible terrorist attack because they staged this provocation after Charlie Hebdo, the Draw Mohammed cartoon contest in Garland, Texas. And the master of ceremonies was none other than Pam Geller. You'll probably see her beautiful face as we scroll down. And also Geert Wilders from the Netherlands, the race hustler. He was there. There they go. And so CNN were basically all over these guys, these special forces guys. So completely over the top security. They're expecting a terrorist attack. There they are. And Geert Wilders was flown in from the Netherlands as the sort of guest of honor, along with other celebrity right-wing types. And so we were watching this thing, and I'm like, this is a complete fake. Like this is a CNN production. And lo and behold, the terrorist attack that they hoped for actually happened on live TV. There's Pam Geller. It's connected to the Israeli lobby, runs some kind of think tank or whatever. Her husband, Robert Spencer, they're all over the place. I think it's Stop Islamicization of America. They've got another connected with Bridget Gabriel, Act for America, etc. So these sort of people there. So what happened here was it turned out, and we learned later, that the perpetrator, who showed up magically on this live CNN broadcast, drove up and was gunned down immediately by these guys or by the FBI. I'm not sure. So they set up this casus belli on CNN. This was in May 2015. And it turns out later we find out that Elton Simpson, the so-called terrorist, was an Islamic convert, Phoenix, Arizona, was radicalized by an FBI handler who was paid over $100,000. And what came out in court filings years later in a separate case was the FBI had a supervisor on site as the shooters or the terrorists arrived, and they were then wasted and gunned down. So this had and CNN ran the media management for this event. It was a CNN production. So this is a perfect example of who knows who, the FBI are involved. It was a staged event. It was a provocation. They actually had their terrorists ready to go, drove them in for the event, shot them and killed them on site, covered by CNN. So it literally was one of the greatest media productions of a domestic terror event you could possibly find as an example. So we point people to the Garland, Texas story. We covered this. We went out on a limb early and said it was a staged hoax. And of course, we took a lot of flack for that. We did that the morning after. And it wasn't until years later that we were vindicated through the court filings on a separate case. And we covered that in a separate article. And so I'll actually try to link up these three Garland, Texas articles together. So that's one of them. And then the other one, which I think you'll find interesting, is San Bernardino live updates. And so we covered this live again as it broke at the time. We did this with many of these events, including coups, the Turkish coup. I think that was the same summer, 2015, I think, if I'm not mistaken. But this was like a live sort of coverage that we did. And then it was absolutely the most insane, scripted, just a total cluster, of an operation involving thousands of first responders, DHS, police. Turns out there was a multi-agency fusion drill on site that week. And the so-called perps, apparently they said this 5'2", if you scroll down, you'll probably see a picture of her eventually. Tafshin Malik, the Muslim wife of the other supposed terrorist, 5'2". We're meant to think she was Laura Croft, Rambo, carrying a massive machine gun plus backup pistols and rounds, clips. There's the husband there, Saeed Farouk, 28-year-old, mild-mannered, soft-spoken employee, female partner, Tafshin Malik, both gunned down dead, as you'd expect. And then CNN went and ransacked the apartment of the alleged perpetrators afterwards. And there's CAIR, C-A-I-R. They ran the sort of public relations with CNN and Fox on the back end of that. So there's a whole narrative attached to this. And as we pointed out here, this was used ultimately, the Council for American Islamic Relations. A lot of people suspect that this has been infiltrated by the intelligence services and is Muslim Brotherhood affiliated. And the Muslim Brotherhood had been penetrated by U.S. and British intelligence for many decades, and Israeli intelligence as well. So this event was used to trigger U.S. fight against ISIS. Oh, look at this. An informant paid $356,000 by the government, as well as immigration benefits, because he was a convicted felon being allowed to stay to work as an informant. CAIR's Greater Los Angeles office issued a press release before the trial. So they're implanted in an FBI informant scandal, CAIR. So they're running PR for the San Bernardino event. So, I mean, the whole thing is just dirty from top to bottom. Anyway, we point to this because it's so relevant to the New Orleans event, which is, again, same exact MO, quote, ISIS inspired and amazing. And they had like known Israeli operatives who are in the counterterrorism conversation, providing all the sort of color commentary for this after the fact on Breitbart and other media outlets. I mean, talk about shady. And they made it work. They said he was inspired by Facebook posts. And so technically ISIS attacked America and San Bernardino, ergo trigger the authorization use of military force. Boom, deployment to Syria and Iraq to fight ISIS. End of story. Move along, and thousands of bombs later and a few cities leveled. The war in ISIS continues. There we go. That was the person who jumped the flat was Victor Blackwell, CNN reporter. He's since been moved on to another network, maybe News Nation. News Nation's like basically it's like a clearinghouse for ex-CNN employees. That's another story there. Anyway, we've got some of the video of this. They did the exact same thing, Hesher, after the Pulse nightclub shooting in Orlando. Omar McKean.
So, Kerry, you're in that scrum, I guess.
Okay, so Andrew, I think we're going to wait a minute. You can see there's a crush of cameras here. There's people holding up their cell phones, taking snapshots.
The orgy of evidence that was allowed.
Here's just some mixed nuts with peanuts.
Immediately following.
Take a look at the calendar and see if anything's marked on the calendar. And I don't see anything. That's November, so let's go over here to December.
Very, very
just similar. See if anything of importance was marked on the calendar here.
This recent event.
And nothing there. And it's just a typical sort of calendar with.
I mean, can you imagine
what kind of computer equipment in a crime Kerry, scene? Presumably the FBI has taken anything that they
thought.
Touching
stuff with their fingers
and also to touch this stuff. So it's not as if I'm touching things that I shouldn't be touching. So
you might check to see if anything is written on the back of these pictures. Any dates?
Just finger effing everything.
Looks like it may have been some sort of birthday party.
Let's make sure we don't.
Okay, here's the first
let's make sure we don't see the children. Let's not show the child.
Here, there's a shot of an open Quran also.
And I'm sorry, Andrea, this is sort of unfolding live as we're doing it, so I'm not sure what the next picture is going to be until I pull them open. All right, so we've got quite a number of pictures of children here. Again, it's
just amazing stuff. Rooting through
journalism, Hesher. I mean, this is top level stuff.
Yeah,
Pulitzer Prize.
I think we should.
We're going to step away from the pictures for a moment. Why don't we go to the?
Let's see in the other side of the next room.
That's an MSNBC special.
Right okay, there. So we have an LG monitor.
Live too. They filmed it and shot it live.
We have a check here from Chase to Syed Farouk for $7.98. Over here is one of these sort of all-in-one. All-in-one printers and scanners. Here, we have to step back a little bit, Bill, because there's a crowd that wants to step in as you come out from here and spread out on the
spread out. In the article there
appears to be credit cards and IDs. So here's one of the ones. Here's an ID. All right, here we go. So California ID.
There's an ID.
First. Okay,
look at that. There's her ID.
Raifa Sultana.
Not blurred out or anything.
We have a revenue support clerk business.
That was San Bernardino. That was December of 2015. And I just dropped you a link, Hesher. If you grab this, this is the New York Post yoga bunny who is allowed access to the New Orleans terrorist. If you bring that up, and I think you can play that video in there, that's a pretty amazing, absolutely amazing one. But again, almost identical.
Yep.
You can see that it's been clearly destroyed, the door at least, from the FBI raid yesterday. But if we walk through the home, we see some signs of what he was up to. He had this work area here, lots of different chemicals splayed around, and different electronics. This is, again, a work setup, left receipts, just very unkempt in here. If we go over here, actually, you can see the Department of Justice documents here, the search warrant, and the property that they recorded here, which seems to be a lot of chemicals. Again, just left in disarray. There's a bedroom back here, and his, what appears to be his collection of religious materials, his Qurans, an open Quran with a passage there, as well as even the Bible here, but mostly books on Islam, and his prayer rug just to the left of me here. And if we go back, there's another bedroom here. You can see he left all these belongings, contact lenses, personal belongings, bathroom. This seems to be some sort of workspace, again, with other chemicals here. The light's still on, some kind of station set up here. We're not really sure what that was for, in, you know, what we can assume was also a bedroom. You can see clothes left here, and just a sign.
Oh, look at that. A Palestinian kafia scarf.
Yeah.
Those last few moments when
just
neighbors
hanging there
said
nicely.
He left just before the New Year's holiday, saying he was done with his lease. It was up, and he was on his way to New Orleans, where he would live there. Didn't take any furniture because he said his new home would be furnished. That's all we know so far.
Wow, that's Pulitzer Prize winning journalism right there from Jenny Taylor, who I believe is American Israeli or something like this. She's done stringer work for Fox, apparently News Nation, the New York Post here, Prager University. I think she's got some of that in her resume as well, and other sort of organizations and foundations linked to Israel. So that's interesting that she, of all people, in Houston, was allowed into a counterterrorism crime scene 24 hours after this big world-changing terrorist attack. And she's going, and of course, you talk to Muslims. I've never been to a Muslim's house where the Quran is left open or seen it. It's usually you're supposed to close it to respect the book. That's kind of, especially if you're pious. I'm just throwing that out there as a kind of cultural motif detail. So that's strange, and open to the martyrdom passage. So he left the flat, he left his lease, but he didn't take any of the stuff with him. That's totally credible and believable. So again, great journalism by the Washington Post stringer. I mean, come on, folks. Seriously. But so that's, again, San Bernardino, identical MO right there. And yeah. Omar Mateen, Pulse nightclub, Orlando. I think that was in 2015 as well. This was the all-star year, right? Was his father not a CIA informant in Afghanistan?
Yeah.
He kind of was. Wasn't his father not the number 2 guy they were pushing to be the next president of Afghanistan?
That sounds familiar.
Was Omar Mateen not on IMDb as an actor?
He was indeed.
Yeah. So that's not sus, is it?
No, not at all. Not at all. Not just a coincidence, I'm sure. That was June of 2016, June 12th, 2016. 29-year-old Omar Mateen.
Yeah, Pulse nightclub. Totally crazy event. Defied all logic. Never seen anything like it. And a lot of it's strange sort of people featured on mainstream media after that who were survivors and stuff like that. Kind of had an air of Disney World to it, to be quite honest. Not really credible at all. But I want to bring up on screen here. Now, this is interesting. So if this is correct, and I think it is, FBI seeking information about Bourbon Street attack. But Hesher, if you look at the perpetrator there from the CCTV images, so he's on site, and doesn't he look about? So there's that. Totally different character there. Gray hair, about 30 pounds lighter in civvy clothes, and then we see this released, full camo gear, kind of overweight. We blurred out the body, obviously, there, but you can find the gory image on social media. But isn't that interesting? So is it the same person laying down in front of that truck that's in these photos? And did he do a costume switch somehow while he was driving the car and shooting out the window? I don't know. It just seems like it's just another question there. Anyway, this if anybody can verify that, I'm assuming this is the original SBI poster, but again, I'm not going to. It was posted on a social media account that I follow, so I'm assuming this is from the FBI, but it might not be. Could have been. There's a lot of doctored JPEGs on social media, but anyway, I think it's authentic. We can probably do a search on the back end, you guys, if you Ruckus or anybody is able, looking for FBI seeking information, image search, Bourbon Street attack, see if there's anything on the FBI website. But apparently it's case closed. It's case closed because they already let the media into the flat. So if you had any ISIS accomplices, The DNA samples are going to be contaminated now because you've had film crews traipsing through. So I guess that's over. So it's not really a serious investigation, is it? So is this really the perpetrator? Kind of a legit question when you see some of the shenanigans going on here, especially with the media folks. So that's interesting. But the other one was Trouble in the Homeland. I don't know if you have that link. That was one of the 21 Wire links, Hesher there. And this was the Chattanooga shooting. This also happened in Chattanooga, Tennessee. And this, I think this shooting happened in 2015. That was that banner year of the Daily Shooter. And this was off of a U.S. military base as well. And let's take a look at that story. Trouble in the Homeland. I co-wrote this with Jay Dyer. Jay obviously is really well informed and steeped in these types of events. And his book, Esoteric Hollywood 1 and 2, are kind of the seminal text on CIA, intelligence, cults, crossing paths with Hollywood. So that's interesting. But this was the psychodrama, Chattanooga in 2015. Has some similarities, kind of a lone wolf shooting. And if you scroll down, the interesting part is there's the perpetrator, immigrant family, I think second generation, not sure. But that was, I don't think his name will be there. Yeah, Muhammad Yusuf Abdulaziz. So this was a very strange event. And it featured a lot of weird anomalies. And it kind of played out again on CNN and the mainstream media. It's kind of a big media production while it was breaking and afterwards. But when you scroll down, here's the interesting part. We'll go down a little bit further and we'll see a graphic, like a flow chart, to do with who had access to the investigation. And what you see with these, if it comes under counterterrorism, in this case, because it came off of a military base, it was pretty much a closed loop in terms of the investigation. And that means that local law enforcement, sheriff's department, even the FBI are kind of shut out at that point. There's so many red flags on this story that don't make sense, that look like there was some other involvement there. Obviously, this was at the height of the ISIS crisis. And you have Site Intelligence Group. That's an Israeli-connected outfit in the Beltway that basically, they launder and manage all the information. Bethesda, Maryland, Rita Katz, Site Intelligence there. But scroll down a little bit more and you'll see the investigation information chart. And it is quite extraordinary. I think it's coming up pretty soon, but there we go. So all the information for this was basically sealed into a very, very small compartment of the U.S. military. And I don't even think the FBI could get into it. So it was it's what we called at the time a closed information system. And the FBI can do this as well when it becomes a federal counterterrorism case. And Oklahoma City was extremely interesting in this. I think Oklahoma City was mismanaged through the ATF and the FBI. They couldn't get the story straight. They couldn't manage all of the leaks, the sieve that was OKC. And I think over the years that agencies, the U.S. government, the military in this case, have gotten in super control over everything immediately, and they control all information that comes in and out and what gets fed to the media. So this was like a perfectly kind of managed narrative here. And if we look at the work of Trevor Aronson, and this is where we're taking it, folks, and this is what you need to know. So if you want a really good takeaway, and by the way, you can find all these articles on 21st Century Wire. Just go to the Daily Shooter archive, the Daily Shooter archive, and you'll find all of these things. Now, why we say this and what's important is you look at the work of Trevor Aronson. And here's Trevor. This is a book that's required reading. It's called The Terror Factory. So inside the FBI's manufactured war on terror. So post 9/11, to the point where this book was published, 2014, 90% of all the high-profile terror busts in America featured FBI informants, handlers, dupes, and other useful idiots. So in other words, none of these high-profile terror busts would have happened without the FBI making them happen. And one of the most egregious examples of this was actually before all this, before 9/11, was the World Trade Center bombing in New York in 1993. Now, you'll hear U.S. politicians get up and say this was an al-Qaeda attack on American soil. You'll even hear people in the media repeat that trope. The World Trade Center bombing in 1993, this is 9 years before 9/11 or 8 years before 9/11, this was an FBI cell. It featured FBI informants. They put it together. They trained the driver. They gave them the money for the bombs. It was supposed to be inert, and it was supposed to have dummy explosives. And lo and behold, as if by magic, the bombs became live when the truck went into the basement of the World Trade Center and nearly took out a column of one of the World Trade Centers in 1993. And the narrative was that was a Islamic terror attack on U.S. soil. The reality, which came out later through audio tapes and New York Times, back when it was probably one of the last bits of journalism the New York Times ever did, was the coverage of this scandal. And this should be like in everybody's like history book as a lesson. And after 9/11, as Trevor Aronson here in the Terror Factory documents, the FBI spun up all of these high-profile terror events after 9/11. And so this is not a conspiracy theory, ladies and gentlemen. This is fact. The FBI were busy filling up files of various terror suspects, and if they didn't have them, they'd go and create them. They recruit people who had a screw loose in the local mosque. And the Americans aren't the only people who do this, by the way. The British have done it. The French do it. Belgium as well. You'll find this practice. Germany. So you have this weird practice, this overlap of intelligence services, law enforcement, national law enforcement, mosques, and some Muslim Brotherhood groups and very shady international organizations there. And who knows, possibly a foreign intelligence service in the case of America. I'm talking about Israel. Israel's been busted doing intelligence ops, spying on American soil multiple times, including by the FBI. So just understand that's like a thing. So when you look at these events and you look at who's the beneficiary of them at the end, what is the result of the war on terror but a huge U.S. deployment in the Middle East? Who does that benefit? Absolutely Israel. So if it was such a threat, why would you need to manufacture it? Why would you need to manufacture it? If there's such an Islamic terror threat, why would you have to go in and create it? And to Republicans, you guys know the Gretchen Whitmer kidnapping that helped to swing the 2020 election against Trump in favor of Biden. You know that is an FBI op. That's come out as an FBI op, even though it's denied by MSNBC and left-wing media. The right wing knows that's an FBI op. So, but you suspend your animation in your mind when it comes to Islamic terror. Oh, it couldn't possibly be an FBI op. It's radical Islamic terror. It's ISIS inspired. And they're coming over the southern border. You know, a government wouldn't have anything to do with any of this terror, right? But it's okay if it fits a certain mold, but you switch off your brains when it has anything to do with Muslims, Islam, or the Middle East, or bin Laden, or whatever. So it's a bit of cognitive dissonance. I don't know. You guys have any comment on that? And are you familiar with the work of Trevor Aronson?
Yeah, absolutely. Terror Factory is critical reading. And there's so many examples of this. You know, last night I brought up the Newburgh Sting. There you can watch the Newburgh Sting documentary on YouTube. It's the same thing. 4 guys from a mosque were convinced by FBI informants that they should do a bombing at a synagogue or something like that. I mean, it's a very well documented case. If you could put this one on the screen too, here's another great example. This is This is a classic from Last American Vagabond here. This was put out in 2018, in the beginning of 2018. Parents catch FBI in plot to force mentally ill son to be a right-wing terrorist. The parents of a severely mentally disabled man are speaking out on how the FBI groomed him as a right-wing terrorist, knowing he's a paranoid schizophrenic. So, you know, I'm not going to read the whole thing there, but this is yet another great example of how these things can happen. And look who they target. They target a mentally ill person that he would fit the profile great for, you know, this type of operation, the right-wing white nutbag, you know. So it's like, you know, again, you keep seeing these ginned up things that they're creating, and it's almost always against quote unquote right-wing Americans or Muslims.
Yeah, that's an Hatari militia in Michigan. That was part of the PatCon, Patriot conspiracy operation run by the federal government to kind of implant and radicalize Patriot militias. Oklahoma City, obviously, that goes under that banner as well. So, yeah, I mean, there's just so many examples of this. But the main thing is they're preying on people that are vulnerable. And that's one of the big things that upsets a lot of people about this practice, is they're really taking advantage of people who wouldn't be in these situations to begin with. I mean, Chris Lee Cornell was a wrestler out of Ohio, and they set him up on a fake kind of, he was going to bomb Washington, and they gave him the money to go in the hardware store, and then all the feds were waiting outside the hardware store when he came out, and then busted him, and then did a press conference on it. And he was a really kind of messed up radical. And then, of course, who did they send in to do the prison interview of this screwed up guy? Of course, it was CNN. So CNN is part of the deep state's media management team. Very important to understand. And here's the film. I mean, we have a lot of these great films at 21st Century Wire. One of them is The Noble Lie. This was made in 2010. This is one of the greatest independent documentaries ever made. Full stop, period. They don't make films like this anymore. And this is about the Oklahoma City bombing. Timothy McVeigh, complete federal involvement, set up by the feds, is the biggest domestic terror attack in the U.S. history up to that point in time. And it was a complete dodgy, dirty operation during the Clinton administration. Bill Clinton, White House, directly implicated in the cover-up of this. Eyewitness testimonies in here. And I'm going to tell you, the people who made this film took a huge personal risk, and let's just say, you know, their lives were negatively affected by it in the worst possible way. And also James Traficant, former congressman, he took a lot of flack, including he was thrown in prison for a lot of things, including exposing some of this. So so just understand, when you see films like this, the price that the filmmakers and the investigators had to pay to bring this to the public. And this really just blows the lid. And James Corbett did an awesome short video. I'll see if I can find it on OKC. You guys, have any of you seen Noble Lie? Have any of you had a chance to? InfoWars. Yeah. I mean, back when Alex used to do documentaries and promote some of this great work, that's how I found out about it, through Alex Jones, 12 years ago or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's another must watch, hands down. If you haven't watched that, you should.
Yeah, a Noble
also
Lie.
as a side homework, if you can find some of those older Hour of the Time broadcasts from Bill Cooper during the year it was taking place, and see some real journalism happening on a radio program. So check that out.
That's all. I mean, 1995.
Yep.
Mid 90s. Yeah, Bill Cooper, absolute legend. Amazing. So anyway, why we're showing this stuff, ladies and gentlemen, is just to show you that there is form and there is pedigree with these types of operations, and it goes way back, and some of it's very well documented. So when you see the news, when you see images like this, you need to sort of step back and realize that there is a chance that you may be being manipulated in real time on social media. And when you watch podcasts like this, you have to take a certain amount with a grain of salt and consider the source. There's a very wise person once told me, consider the source. Something I always have in my head. Consider the source. And that's for any information, any commentary, any claims. So I just wanted to throw that out there. We'll go back to, I don't know if we have any more. Any more stuff.
Ruckus did some back digging for us. What'd you find here, Ruckus? You were able to verify this
that is the featured image for the FBI's seeking information page. So it is from the FBI. That was legit.
So guys, I'm just going to have to say, looking at those photos of him on the CCTV camera and then seeing the unredacted image here of a very heavy set man, probably about 30 or 40 pounds heavier, wearing full army camo. And then I'm looking at what you're showing me. They don't quite match up. So I got questions. Did he do a costume change? Did he put on 30 pounds in 12 hours? If this was shot before, when he was driving, is it the same guy? This guy doesn't look too athletic.
Patrick, the little blurry thing they put on you on TV adds 30 pounds, just so you know.
That one. Yeah. Well, the other image is graphic, obviously.
Yeah, it's pretty harsh.
We're not going to show that on air because it's quite disturbing.
The other one, Patrick, we haven't talked about this, but over here, there's the cooler. They say on the FBI seeking information thing, there's a thing about a cooler with IED placed near Bourbon Street and Orleans Streets. What's up with that? Where have we seen these before? J6, Boston, all these places. So this guy, I mean, what a multitasker. What an amazing multitasker. Did he stop the truck and get that out and leave it there? Did he leave the truck to place that there? What was the intended effect of that? Is it inert? Is it real? Did any cameras capture him dropping that off? I imagine there's cameras all up and down those streets on the businesses. Yep. Was he wearing a smartwatch? Do we have the GPS, walking route that he did to lay that down? There's so many just forensic questions and investigative questions that one should have when looking at that. But it's ornamental. It's just like this. It's like we're looking at some sort of, FBI Christmas tree. And they're like, well, we should probably put an IED cooler on the top instead of an angel.
As you do. Yeah. Why not? I mean, driving full speed down an alleyway, running over people, out the window with, I guess, a semi-automatic weapon, or was apparently shooting people, hitting with, I don't know, a handgun. That's kind of difficult, going full speed, firing a handgun, hitting stationary targets. I always found that to be difficult when one engages in such crazy activity. But and then trying to basically drop a cooler with an IED at the same time. He's a real multitasker here. I mean, this guy is something else. I mean, really puts Rambo to shame, and Tom Cruise and anybody else. Some serious action talent here, Mr. Jabbar. So I don't know, not difficult to believe. And why? What's the motive? Means, motive, and opportunity. These are two things you need for crime. It's whatever any good investigator, a prosecutor is looking for. Don't really see the motivation.
Maybe the truck was gravitic. We don't know.
Gravitic. This is the word of the day. Gravitic. So Mr. Matthew in the Cybertruck may have got the word gravitic from Ashton Forbes. So that's how the information flows, ladies and gentlemen. So it's a very efficient system. Anyway, there we are. I mean, we're talking in tongue in cheek here, but we're also dead serious. Some of this stuff is just unbelievable.
There was one thing that one of the panelists brought up last night that we haven't brought up on the show here, since you had the picture of the flag, the photo op with the flag. There's lots of people who looked at that and said that the flag's backwards. It's not even the real ISIS flag. Like, it's a total.
Well, this one's upside down.
Job.
Yeah, this is upside down, so it's an upside down flag, unless you want to believe that ISIS was in distress. So he could have been sending a secret message that I'm in distress. I'm not really an ISIS member, but I'm being made to do this by the feds. Who knows? I mean, this photo itself is unconfirmed. It just appeared on Ian Miles Chong's Twitter feed, and no one can find it anywhere else. That's a bit sus. Does this look like it's photoshopped? It kind of does.
Why is it so grainy? I mean,
it feels very photoshopped, or maybe AI generated, or something. And there's a lot of AI generated images now being pushed out and being flagged as fakes. So this is highly sus, but that's okay. We need to trust it because, as Elon Musk says, you are the media. And if you're one of the half a dozen accounts that Elon boosts, like Ian Miles Chong, who gave us this ISIS image the day of the event, and that's all good. That's the media. That's the new media. You guys are as confident as I am.
Yeah. Notice the photographer has the like hospital booties over his shoes, but the other people are just wearing their normal street shoes and the like strewn about caution tape there. I mean, that looks completely like a staged photo. And if I was to believe it was real, I would have to assume that it's a still shot from a security cam video. That's the only reason I could think why it would be so low quality. But why would security cam still shots be being sent to Ian Miles? I mean, Ian, where'd you get that? We'd love to hear the story behind this.
Well, this is the problem with You Are the Media on X, is that because these people never put any external links, they don't really say what the source is. They could put source Hindustan Times or something stupid like that, but you can't even trust the fact that it is that source because there's no external links. And the reason people do this on Twitter is so that nobody can check their work. Okay. And this is what Elon is promoting. So his algorithm is engineered to promote, which is this type of unsourced JPEG driven breaking news, viral news. And it's intentional. He's even said that you don't have to put the link in the tweet. He said, put it down in the comments, but we don't want to mess the algorithm up. So Elon Musk has got this thing, doesn't want to drive any traffic off X. So he's gamed an algorithm to incentivize people to do tweets a certain way and to put up, quote, news that is like, is it really news or what is it exactly? What is this? Where did this come from? You don't know where it came from. There's no way to find out where it came from. And that's the whole point of Elon's news revolution on X. It's all unverified. So you just get this absolute menage of speculation, claims, AI images, fake news, fabricated stories, viral stories from the biggest accounts on the platform that he's paying thousands of dollars a month to in advertising share revenue. Doesn't care of the quality of the information, only the quantity of the information. Quantity, not quality. That's the You Are the Media revolution that I mean, it's just kind of stupid. I really, and you know, it's funny. Elon puts out a statement saying that he said Grok is going to be the only source of truth today. So this is exactly what we said before, Hesher, in a previous conversation, was that if you flood the information space with trash and garbage news and confuse people, there's a lot of people that don't know what's true anymore on social media. They're completely skull plugged. And so now we see people going to Grok or ChatGPT and saying, let's see what Grok or ChatGPT says. So all the real journalists are being suppressed. Those accounts aren't being boosted by Elon. He's boosting all the fake news and all the kind of viral JPEG driven breaking news, unsourced news. That's what Elon himself is boosting, and then directing people to Grok, the AI engine, if they want to know what the real truth is. So is this the future that these technocrats want? Was that we're totally dependent on AI to find out what's true and not on the reputation of people who are professional, diligent, and good-natured? What could possibly go wrong?
Everything. The reality itself could get more warped and distorted than it already is. And unfortunately, I think that is the direction, and that's well outlined last night by points that Ryan made. Shout out to Ryan Dawson. He was making points about Elon's all of a sudden has this interest in human trafficking, yet he is not boosting any of Ryan's stuff. He's not boosting any of Johnny Vedmore's stuff. We know more than a handful of journalists, to include yourself, Patrick, who've done this work on Epstein, and not only are they not being boosted by Elon, they're suffering shadow banning and algorithmic skullduggery. The algorithm ghetto, as our friend Hervore likes to use that term. Like, people like us are stuck in the algorithm ghetto and being subjected to that, while Elon can go make hay out of Tommy Robinson and talk about human trafficking, but there's no interest in the worst, most egregious stuff happening here in America, that someone like Elon, who claims to be fighting this stuff and providing free speech, like those are the people whose work he should be boosting, but that's not what's happening. And you're absolutely right. In the background, everybody's being replaced slowly. If you know what I mean, like with the ubiquitous nature, the brand new, maybe year-old ubiquitous nature of AI in all of our apps now, to include X. Obviously Grok is there, but there's even little AI features you can use to summarize things or to change your text, make it a little more readable, whatever. It's getting really good. This technology is getting really good, and it's to the point now where people already don't know how to news. They don't know how to do analysis of current events. They don't have the globalist book series that Jay Dyer did in their back pocket. They don't have the book that you recommended behind their eyeballs, and the AI summaries of everything look great. It's like, okay, yeah, I'm well informed, and yeah, maybe I don't care who wrote it. Maybe I just don't care. It doesn't matter if an AI wrote it or if a person wrote it. So it's like, and these things will become more and more embedded and ubiquitous in everything that we do. I mean, look at calling a business, for example. How many businesses can you think of that you used to call and get a person, and now you only have access to the automated system? And it's pretty neat. It's a sophisticated automated system. You can speak in full paragraphs to it and do all kind of stuff with it and maybe accomplish your goal. But the things are being replaced and phased out and some of them should be, quite frankly, like healthcare administration is one thing that we just became aware of is getting in certain aspects of it is getting completely gutted. Entire departments of paper pushers and seat warmers are being cast off because 2 AI agents can do the job of those 30 people with a 0% failure rate. You know what I mean? Like, so yes, absolutely. But we're in deep trouble when it comes to having AIs and algorithm ghettos like X be the new news, because that's not news. That's internet programming, that's government programming going straight into the third eye.
The other thing is, you have the guy who owns the platform, who's got his thumb on the scale, and he makes sure that I unfollowed him, and all of a sudden I'm following him again. Okay, and so everything from Elon Musk comes in my feed first. Even though I'm not necessarily interested in it, I get it anyway. So that's why he gets maximum visibility, maximum traction. He has the most amount of followers, of course, because he's put himself in front of your face 24/7. Now, that as a user on the platform, does he deserve to have that position, or is this kind of a megalomaniac mentality here? Because then comes this incredible power of being able to physically push whatever you want to the top of everyone's feeds and the conversation. And so whatever your politics are will dominate. And what if there's a flaw in your politics? What if you have a screw loose? What if you're wrong? What if you have what if you're putting out bogus information and you're retweeting and boosting fake news? And that's what Elon Musk is doing. And does anybody think that's a problem? I think that's a problem. And then that person has bought their way into the White House. Yes, he did. Do you think he would be in the White House if he didn't bundle 100 million for Trump? I don't think so.
Probably
Just
not.
because he's a smart guy? I doubt it. So he bought his way into the White House, and he's controlling the narrative and the politics of one of the biggest social media platforms on the web. Now, people say you shouldn't be critical of him because he bought Twitter and saved it. And myself, I wouldn't be on the platform if he didn't buy it. And I appreciate the fact that I do have my account back because Jack Dorsey nuked it. Because Jack Dorsey is a pot-smoking psychopath who also is a megalomaniac, who allowed the federal government to run a censorship farm on Twitter and kicked out and ruined the lives of countless people as a result of controlling speech and his gaggle. All the spooks that were running around. There's still spooks running around on X in the background, but nothing like to the level Facebook or Meta has, or Google and YouTube. So it's all about censorship. So yes, I am grateful there's free speech on the platform, but I obviously I take that with as much responsibility as possible. I have a right to criticize Elon Musk because he is the biggest, most popular, famous person in the world. He puts himself out as, you know, a demigod. So criticism comes kind of with the territory. So I'm getting attacked by his followers and Tommy Robinson's followers that how dare I criticize Elon. Trump followers are also upset, many of them, at criticism of Elon Musk. But what he's doing is completely insane. It's totally over the top. He's made some bad decisions and he doubles down, and then he does a quick switch and he reacts to things. He reacts to things because of his ban the ADL hashtag campaign. He had the Israeli lobby set upon him and Ben Shapiro, and they're riding him so hard, and ended up pulling him up on some comment about the Great Replacement Theory, and dragged him all the way to Israel to do a struggle session with Bibi Netanyahu, and then to Auschwitz with the photo op with Ben Shapiro. He had to do a space with Shmuley Botish, like 50 rabbis, and like had to prostrate himself at the altar of the lobby because of some comments or tweets he made. So, and then he became pro-Israel to the hilt after October 7th as well. So no talk about dead Palestinian children or Israeli rapes in prison of Palestinian prisoners, all that stuff that even came out in the Israeli press. Doesn't touch it, won't talk about it. So there's a lot of things you can criticize Elon Musk about, and he needs to own it. So one of them is his crazy support for Tommy Robinson, which is here, free Tommy Robinson now. And so he's latched on to this. And I don't think it's all him. I think he has Israeli kind of the super donor list. I forgot that WhatsApp group that got publicized in the Washington Post after October 7th. I think he's in that WhatsApp group. So him and Bill Ackman are basically doing exactly the same thing. Bill Ackman is a billionaire hedge fund manager, and who's calling for, you know, students to be removed from campuses for protesting against Israel's genocide. Tommy Robinson's funded by the Israeli interests. They have sponsored him for years. He bats for Israel. He's very open about it. And he does this kind of Muslim versus Christian, white versus brown kind of narrative very openly, and kind of couches it in this. He is campaigning for the victims of grooming gangs. But the thing is, Tommy Robinson's in prison now, not because he was exposing grooming gangs. Tommy Robinson is in contempt of court. That's why he's in jail, because he violated court orders because he was tampering in a trial that had nothing to do with grooming gangs. But it was a Syrian refugee named Jamal something. He inserted himself into it, got completely over his head, and got censured by the court, didn't follow the instructions of the court, the warnings, ended up breaking his conditions, and he's back in jail. So he couldn't leave it. He couldn't let it go. He doubled down. What Tommy Robinson did is try to get the crowd on his side by putting out a lie that he is in jail because he was exposing grooming gangs. Two totally different cases. So Elon Musk didn't check on the facts. He just immediately went for the released, free Tommy Robinson narrative. If anybody did what Tommy Robinson did, they'd get banged up in jail, period. And so it was a separate case that Tommy got into because he wanted to get a journalistic scoop to defame. To me, my interpretation of this is it looks like he was trying to defame this Syrian refugee named Jamal because he was an Arab or a Muslim refugee, and Tommy just was looking for a scoop. But there was no story there. So instead of letting it go, he doubled down in the same way Elon's doubling down on his support for Tommy Robinson. So we're not saying that, exposing child abuse syndicates, that, of course, needs to be exposed. The police have teams working on it. In fact, the Rotherham case, one of the things that impeded the investigations and the exposure in that case has been actual police, and not Asian police, white Anglo-Saxon police. So you'll find with any criminal activity, whether it's drug dealing, human trafficking, you'll find corrupt law enforcement at some level. That's the reason why it's not getting out, or the reason why the syndicate persists is sometimes because of government or law enforcement corruption. It's a fact of life. So these things are obviously complicated. So what has Elon Musk done here? He's basically said, look at this. It's my earnest hope that His Majesty considers this matter in the interest of his subjects. Elon calls for the king to dissolve parliament over grooming gangs. So yeah, I'm powerful. I'm going to use my platform to call for the dissolution of the British Parliament, as if you can just snap your fingers, or as if the king. And so Elon Musk doesn't know much about British politics. What Elon Musk doesn't understand is that the royal family has been mediatized for decades. In other words, they only hold vestigial positions with regards to politics. They're not really involved in the day-to-day workings. They're the titular vestigial head of state, but not active in politics. So he's kind of made a fool out of himself here, thinking that from his phone that he can bring down the British government. And so what has he done today? He doubled down again. And he's calling for Nigel Farage to be ousted from the Reform Party because they won't accept Tommy Robinson as a member. So this is the insurgent Conservative Party now that has all the chances of winning in the next general election. And Elon Musk has intervened to wreck reform and to push Nigel Farage out of politics, who is, by a lot of people's estimation, the favorite to be the next prime minister in the next general election. That's the trajectory reform is on. And so isn't it interesting that Elon Musk is intervening to basically break up the Reform Party? And who's going to benefit, guys? If Reform loses Farage and doesn't get the votes in the next general and the seats, guess who wins? Labor.
Mm-hmm.
So Elon Musk is helping Labor in the next general election. Supposedly the pedophilic Labor Party. He's going after Keir Starmer, saying he's responsible for the, quote, rape of Britain. Musk is also claiming something crazy. I don't have the figure in front of me he's tweeted so many times on this that 250,000 white girls underage have been raped by Muslims in Britain or something crazy like that. Totally unverifiable figures. I mean, insane levels of sensationalism here. So I think he's having a meltdown, because why would you want to go this deep and then also make enemies of Nigel Farage and GB News, which are the conservative bastion right now in the United Kingdom? That doesn't make a whole lot of sense if you're a, quote, conservative. Is Elon Musk a conservative? That's another question. Anybody have any thoughts on this?
He seems to have a very malleable political mind. You know what I mean? Like, you look at some of the things he used to say, and he appeared to be very, on the left. And obviously we watched that shift to more of so he was kind of like center left. And now he's sort of like went all the way to the right just before Trump, and now that Trump's in, he's kind of nudging back to this like center right sort of position, this very milquetoasty center right. Not that being center right or center left is milquetoast by definition. You're safer in those zones than you are in the extreme, but probably the closer to the center you can get with the right context, you're going to do a lot better. So to me, he seems to sort of be mirroring the way that American foreign policy works. You look at all the regime change that goes on around the world, and it's never based on a strict set of politics or policies or any of that. It's more about we'll support a conservative regime change here, we'll support a communist regime change here, we'll support a rebel sort of thing over here. It's like they can just shift. It's like that thing about bad guys that I was saying earlier. They just shift who the bad guy is. Whether in this case, it's more of a political bad guy, and then the American attack dogs can go to it. And Elon is part of the American information warfare now. So of course he's going to gravitate to whatever. But this one in particular, I find egregious and really shows a lack of understanding. Like either has a lack of understanding, or he's doing whatever he's doing for clicks, or whatever his plan is here. But it shows a clear lack of understanding that he would go after the British government over this topic, right? And use Tommy Robinson as the prop for the whole thing. Because if you're really concerned about that, again, we'll point out again, why are you not more concerned about the Epstein ring of people and associates? Why did I never see you X out about the Nixvium sex Hollywood cult, or John of God, who Oprah Winfrey and other people have been rubbing elbows with for years? I mean, there's all kinds of well-documented cases. Scientology, look at some of the stuff that's come out of Scientology, man. I mean, it's absolutely crazy. We've got that guy from the 70s show, Danny Masterson, in jail for raping people. He's in jail for 30 years. And, everybody can see, the Diddy thing has brought this to more light too. Everybody can see these sex trafficking, sex cult, sex influence, rings happening in government, in Hollywood. It's all over the place here, and it's in the open. Everything I just mentioned is stuff that's public record, and our media doesn't cover it. Our media didn't tell us hardly anything about that Nixvium sex cult, and it was horrible. It's atrocious. There's mind control going on. There's
blackmail. There's blackmail going on. So Nexium and Epstein are the same. They're part of the same system. It's the same syndicate, basically.
Yeah.
But it's some big names, some high profile people involved in that. Big guys like connected. The Bronfmans, for instance, Lex Wexner, for instance. So I mean, you're getting into the power elite of North America there. Ruckus, what do you think? Is Elon having a meltdown?
No, Elon's not having a meltdown. This is what Elon does. He does it all the time. He's just one giant troll. He just doesn't care, to be honest with you. That's why I'm like, what is his motive? He doesn't seem to latch on to anything. He's like water. So what you said about the fact that maybe his ultimate role is to just completely muddy the water, destroy X, and let something else come in, and you guys are nailing it with the AI thing. And it's like, people don't realize, unless you actually are paying attention to where we're at right now with AI and what they're using it for. Hesher used the keyword right there, AI agents. You're going to be hearing about AI agents a lot this year. Remember, Ruckus told you that. But what the thing is, like X, just like the Department of Government Efficiency thing, they're going to be using algorithms and slimming down, making things more safe and effective, kind of like they did during the pandemic, ironically enough. I think he's going to do the same thing with X. And I think what these people don't realize, see, Patrick, they've just simply cut out the middleman. See, the mainstream media does the exact same thing with unverified sources, but they make it look like when you read the stories, oh, yeah, no, they quoted somebody. No, they didn't. They just said, according to sources familiar with the matter. That's the exact same mainstream version of the people on X putting up sirens with no sources attached. You know what I mean? Oh, it's hidden in the comments somewhere. So Elon's just making the media more safe and effective. He's just being efficient about it. He's cutting out the middleman. And pretty soon, before you know it, he's going to cut out you as well. That's right. You, the big X monetized platform, will no longer be doing what you're doing. You will be replaced by AI. In fact, Mark Zuckerberg is already doing this on his platform. And you want to tell me Elon's not going to do the exact same thing? Elon has now introduced artificial intelligence created influencers who will be creating their own posts on Facebook. Now, considering how these AIs work, they work on studying language models. You, the big X checkmark who likes to collect all the money doing your fake news stories without any sources, are training the AI agent who's about to replace you how to do the exact same thing. And it ultimately serves the ultimate goal. Well, we can't trust this person, so let's go to a trusted source, an authoritative source, which is the problem. This is all problem, reaction, solution, because the problem has always been that the mainstream media has acted as gatekeepers. Now we've got this problem where everybody's misinformation, disinformation, malinformation. Look what's happening on X. Oh my God, we can't trust it. Okay, we all need to come together with the solution of a one source, trusted source of authority. And since we can't trust the dirty humans, we can't trust the media, we can't trust the government, we can't trust Elon, who can we trust? The AI.
Computer.
Which is crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, trust the computer. And then it won't be long till politicians and public administrators are being replaced as well by more efficient, agents that don't make mistakes, as you said, Ruckus. Error-free pilots, administrators. It's nothing to do for humans, right?
They've talked about this for cities, too. They talked about doing this in Ukraine, right? Kiev is going to be a giant, glorious, democratic smart city soon. And guess what? In our pie in the sky view of what that means, there's going to be courts, there's going to the DMV, the court, aspects of government. They're all going to be automated, right? Well, what does that mean? Well, those are AI agents. Let's think of an AI agent as a job that someone used to have, right? So it's going to be the same with media, with news, with influencers, with code writers. I mean, there's a whole new add-on to GPT now where it's called Canvas, I believe, and it's expensive, but if it works the way that I understand it works, you can make it pay for itself. You can have it train it to be your tax guy and your investments guy or gal. You know what I mean? You can name it whatever you want. Name it, Stapler 3000 if you want, but that's where they see all this going, and it's corrupting. Unfortunately, it's gonna. There's this theory of undermining the internet that we talked with Jay Dyer about on a recent Boiler Room, and that's exactly what this is going to do. This is going to further undermine people's ability to trust, their ability to analyze, their ability to believe their five senses. That's where this will ultimately end up, and that gets back to that problem, reaction, solution that Ruckus was talking about. And among those solutions are, of course, digital IDs, CBDC, and all that odious stuff that is, those main three pillars to technocracy.
Yeah, the pillars of technocracy. The technocrats want to automate everything, make it more convenient for you because, things like work are, inconvenient, and you'll have more time to do what? I don't know, sit there on a VR set doing porn. Who knows what they have planned for you? But there's some consumption type activity that you will have to be doing for the system. They're not going to let you do watercolors and landscapes all day. That's for sure. But speaking of Epstein, I shouldn't show this, but I will. Sorry. I apologize in advance. How come Elon doesn't go after the Epstein issue? Well, maybe it has something to do with this. Jeffrey Epstein set Elon's brother, Kimball Musk, up with his girlfriend in an effort to get close to Tesla founder. Sources say Jeffrey Epstein, multimillionaire sex criminal, introduced Kimball Musk, that's Elon's brother and business partner, to a woman in Epstein's entourage. that we hear from Business Insider. Now, I don't know if this story has been refuted or not, but it's up there, and there's other similar reports. The woman had previously dated Epstein and lived in the apartment building where he was known to house his models, quote, models, and dated Kimball Musk 2011 to 2012. This is after Epstein's conviction. So that's interesting, isn't it? Jeff is quite the networker, isn't he? He does get around, old Jeff.
Yeah.
And the blackmail thing you guys are talking about, this is a theory I've had. I haven't really vocalized it, but I was watching this and I'm like, I'm a little concerned about this. If Elon Musk wanted to take that same strategy as a business model, then he's got the perfect Grok is his Ghislaine. Grok is watching everything that you do. That's right, everything that you do. And I know what some of you do on X. In fact, quite a few number of you do, because you'll notice he didn't get rid of all the prawn on the platform. No, he doubled down on the prawn. The prawn gets to stay.
No, he expanded. He expanded it.
It's big business, and he knows, and Grok knows you're watching it, so that could be used as blackmail against you people. Just so you know.
100%. So it was restricted before. Say what we want about the old Twitter regime, as terrible as it was. They put restrictions on porn and things like that. Now there are a number of scandals where there was trafficking taking place on Instagram, and I think it was happening on Twitter as well. There were some egregious crimes that were being posted on Twitter. Unbelievable stuff. People getting beat up, women getting beat up, horrible stuff. And they tried to moderate it and shut it down. What Elon's done is saying, oh, it's all good, and literally opened up the spigot for porn. So he for whatever reason, he wants to make X the biggest porn site in the world. Now, I don't know about you, but there's some problems with that, because you can't regulate that, as we're learning now. How many states now are going to ban some of those big sites like Pornhub? A number of U.S. states are putting it behind, you can access it through VPNs in, I think it's 12 states now. So why? Because of the overlap with organized crime. That's why. So it's illicit activity. So, I mean, so what's his motivation? Is he big on the ethics and morals, or is he just big on the money, or just big on being number one in traffic? So is Elon about quantity or quality? Everywhere we look, he seems to boast, brag, and celebrate quantity. He said X is the number one news source in the world. That's a bold-faced lie. That means that you're calling all the fake news and the memes as news. So you're basically degrading the term news by making that statement. And then he'll post a JPEG of flags from countries. Looks like a UN vote roll call list, but then it's made to look like these are all countries where X is number one. And one of them on there was Russia, which I believe there's a ban on X. You have to access it through VPN, so it can't be number one. So Elon Musk is putting out fake news about his own platform from the biggest account in the world. Does anybody see a problem with that, or is that just Elon being Elon, and I'm supposed to think that's cool?
Well, it's, X is everything, right? Like, we can't forget that X is intended to be the everything app, right? So it's supposed to be the WeChat, whatnot. I don't know. Do they have prawn in China? I have no idea. But I mean, if it's really going to be the everything app, and pornography is, 80%, it's the lion's share of money making on the entirety of the interweb. Of course he's going to want it. Of course he's going to want it. He's going to want to have it there. I certainly hope he's going to put guardrails up so children can't access it. But I mean, the fact that he's doing that just goes to show this is a perfect example of, how he's using human trafficking as a bit of a political wedge here, and a meme platform to troll the UK government right now in this case. But he literally does not care about human trafficking if he allows and supports pornography on X, because I hate to be the bearer of bad news for the porno creeps out there, but a lot of that industry is based and built around human trafficking. You unfortunately cannot tell if what you're seeing is someone that is a consenting adult or not. And there's no way to police that. and it's just allowed to exist because of organized crime, because governments, government is the ultimate human trafficker, let's face it. And Elon Musk is supporting that by, letting X be an everything app. If everything includes pornography, then yeah, he clearly has a disconnect, or doesn't understand the nature of that industry, or doesn't care. So it's somewhere in there.
Yeah. So
and I hate to say it real quick, Patrick, but AI is probably going to solve that problem too.
Oh, how is AI going to solve that problem?
Because if the problem is all of the dirty, underhanded, illegal, criminal activity happening as a result of that, why don't we simply replace that with AI? Because that's a doable thing now. And who stands to benefit from this are people like Elon Musk, who are 100% heavily invested in AI companies. So,
so they'll
just
take
pointing it out there.
Market, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. And it's cheaper because the AI will generate images so you don't have to pay somebody to do the thing on camera. You can just get the AI to do it for you. So yeah, a look into the future through Ruckus Vision. I think dystopian future. So that was a little bit of, it's like they live.
As long as they don't replace us, I'm fine with all of it. It's all right, whatever.
I think ACR needs a good merch item. We need, they live the glasses, Ruckus Vision glasses.
Yeah, there you go.
And only with these glasses can you see the truth. And you know,
I'm on it. Get out of my head.
I will plug them. Don't worry. I'll plug them and wear them and make sure all my friends have them, wearing Ruckus Vision glasses in 24/7. So yeah, you might be the next Elon Musk, Ruckus, if that one takes off.
I hope not.
And so this is what I tweeted, you guys, and we're going to wrap it up. This has been a kind of extended show, obviously important topics that we're covering. So people need to hear some of this analysis. And again, if you want to get the full-throated, this space we did last night, it's on my Twitter feed at 21Wire. Hesher was there, Ruckus was there. We had some great speakers, Ryan Dawson, Benjamin Rubenstein, and a few others. This was a great discussion, and we really had some great input from some people. And I don't know how long this was. It was like a 4-hour space, but anyway, I tweeted this, you guys, this morning, because what did Elon just tweet? Grok will be the best source of truth by far in the future, says Elon Musk. So I said on the quote tweet, exactly as we predicted, and we have said, and I've tweeted this as well before, technocrats formula, tweak, this should be a K, tweak the algorithm, and then pay shady content creators who flood the information space with viral fake breaking news and AI trash, suppress reach of actual journalism, so everyone must turn to his AI, Grok, for the truth. Clever, I said. And anyway, go on for a little bit of thing there, but we kind of called it, so he's directly in control of this process. He's incentivizing bad behavior. He's creating the problem. He'll create the reaction, and he'll provide the solution. I remember, raise your hand if you're old enough to remember Alex Jones teaching us about the Hegelian dialectic. Doesn't do it anymore.
Does he remember it, though? That's the question.
He doesn't do false flags, doesn't do Hegelian dialectic. He basically said the New Orleans truck was a classic Islamic truck attack. So no government involvement. He might have revised his talking points later that day, because Alex puts out 10 reports, 20 reports in a 24-hour cycle on any issue. So he's constantly doing it. So eventually something will stick and something can say, no, we called it. But what he came out initially was, this is an ISIS-inspired Islamic truck attack, and connected it with the border and everything. So, when you have that kind of a reach, that he's impacting the narrative to his audience. And anyway, just saying, not ragging on anybody, but we are kind of like saying what the fuck's going on. So
yeah.
So I always compliment Alex. Alex made some awesome films. When Alex was making documentaries, that's when I think he was at his best. Terror Storm, Endgame, the Obama Deception,
Police State.
Alex made awesome films. Very effective, very well produced, and educational. And that's what a lot of people red-pilled a lot of people on some of these important concepts. We have to credit Alex Jones for that. He did that, and he did it really well with the film format, which he had totally mastered at that point. His stuff was so effective. And so then he diverted and stopped making films around 2012 or something like that. So he kind of changed, and then Trump came, and it's a different kind of thing he's doing now. But I have to give him full credit. He red-pilled and opened the eyes and woke up a lot of people on some really important concepts. But he's not doing it anymore. So unfortunately, we want the old Alex back. Want that old Alex back. Who didn't love that old Alex? That old Alex was an absolute pit bull and an absolute beacon of enlightenment in some ways, but just very educational. He educated, red-pilled a lot of people. So credit where credit's due. Given some criticism, but I have to say he a lot. So I run into people all the time. Oh, it's because of this film by Alex that I really kind of switched on some big issues. So it happens so often. Anyway, guys, final comments on this extended Sunday Wire edition. Just getting into the new year with a big convo here. A lot of stuff going on. Ruckus, final thoughts for this epic broadcast.
I don't think I have any. If I do, we'll have to see what comes out on Boiler Room or on my own program as I digest this conversation, which was a perfect continuation of the X space. So I will remind folks to definitely check that out if you did not. Unfortunately, I'm not even sure. Do you have to be like an X subscriber or something, or a user to access these things? I don't know. It might just be free for you to click and listen, folks. But just remember, Grok knows that you're listening. Even though you don't use X, Grok knows who you are. Just keep that in mind. But we definitely recommend you check it out anyways. It's been an absolute blast. Thank you so much for including me on the, this was the first Sunday Wire of the new year. So that's exciting. I feel special. And I do want to give a shout out to all of the listeners and the people in the chat rooms across the various platforms like X, Rumble, YouTube. That really helps us out. So a huge shout out to Nathan Phillips, who's been keeping the conversation going and engaging. That really helps us get this message out on more eyeballs. So thank you, Nathan Phillips, for doing your part. And thanks to Alternate Current Radio for helping what Patrick does here at 21st Century Wire keep the dream alive. Both you guys you are the media, not X, and not the people on X. We're it. So thanks again. God bless each and every one of you, and I hope God saves this republic.
Adam Ruckus Clark, thank you. Thank you for your contribution, and thanks for your joining in on your first space last night, which was awesome. And hopefully we can do it again. We really like the format, and the fact we can bring in so many different people in the conversation in and out is amazing. Daily Ruckus, ladies and gentlemen, at Alternate Current Radio, one of the best crafted podcasts out there. Adam is a top flight researcher and a wonderful producer to boot. And Hesher, final thoughts this week.
Yeah, this has been a banger intro to the year. We're only 5 days into the year here, and we could just barely squeeze all of the anomalies and strange things and analyses into the events. And there are some things that we squeezed in last night that we weren't able to hit today. So highly recommend, again, you get over there and check that out if you missed it. And check us out in the Boiler Room. We'll probably be live tonight if today goes as planned. If not, we'll be live again real soon, and pretty much every Thursday. Find us over there in the Boiler Room, alternatecurrentradio.com. And yeah, this is the first episode of season 12 of the Sunday Wire. I've just kind of been naming them. They now have a thing in podcasts where you can put the season marker in there. So I've been every year I up it one. So this is episode 1, season 12. What is this, episode 530, I think? And yeah, it's great to be off and running into another year of Sunday Wire. And thanks for having me on the broadcast today. Really appreciate it. And we'll see you folks in the Boiler Room. And thanks for hanging with us in the chat over at all the various outlets, Sunday Wire, 21stcenturywire.com, the Boiler Room Discord, and all the platforms that Ruckus mentioned. Thanks everybody for hanging with us for the broadcast here, and follow us on X if you haven't. We're in there, we're suffering that. I algorithmic ghetto. And if you want to repost anything we've done, then please do. We appreciate that. And thanks, Patrick. It's been a great show.
Thank you for joining us, and especially grateful for Hesher and also Ruckus, because they are steeped in the daily shooter analysis environment, and I can only talk to people on this subject who know what the hell we're talking about. And we have so much experience picking apart these types of events that it's nice to be able to come together and then draw on our experience and past work we've done, published, done quite a lot of stuff on, and be able to kind of, integrate that into what's happening before us, and then share that with our audience, with the hopes that our audience is going to be better informed and much more aware of what's going on as a result. That's why we do what we do. So thank you very much, Hesher, Ruckus, everybody at Alternate Current Radio, at ACR's Discord community, the chat rooms as well at 21st Century Wire. There's a whole ecosystem, a community at ACR's. You can see the type of content, the people involved, the people who are part of the community. So do consider joining and supporting Alternate Current Radio and the great programs they have as well. You've seen some of the people here on our platform. And the same with 21st Century Wire. The winter fundraising drive is on now. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, this is how we fund our operation for the next 12 months. So we appreciate any donations that you can give us to help us get from A to B, and much appreciated. Those of you who have donated, I'm going to read off the roll call of donors next week. Not the full names, obviously, just a little shout your first name so you know who you are. But we're going to acknowledge some of the great people who supported us when we really need it in the clutch. So there's lots of different ways you can support us. Ideally, subscribe and become a monthly member at 21wire.tv, or just pop us a donation. We'll accept crypto as well. We've got quite a few cryptocurrency donations in the last month. So we appreciate any bits and pieces we can get. We'll put it to good use. And as I told our people many times, our best work is ahead of us. We'll be dropping some of the biggest stories ever this year. And we're working on all of that stuff as we speak. So we'll put it to good use. Don't you worry about that. We've been going since 2009. So it's not a fly-by-night platform. We steadily growed our media operation since then, and we can't do it without your help, without your support. So again, we really, really appreciate it. That's all we've got time for this week, ladies and gentlemen. Again, I'm Patrick Henningsen, your host. This is the Sunday Wire, live on the Alternate Current Radio Network and 21st Century Wire.com. Appreciate all you guys on the different platforms. Do like, share, and subscribe. If you're on YouTube, we really need your help there as well. Help us to sort of overcome some of the throttling that we definitely experienced there. So again, we appreciate that type of help. Content sharing, like, subscribe, tell people about what we're doing. And if you like what we do, and again, if you want to support us, do so here at our winter fundraising drive at 21stcenturywire.com. Need it now more than ever, ladies and gentlemen. So really appreciate it. That's all we got time for. Again, take care. I'm your host, Patrick Henningsen. It's been an extended Sunday Wire episode 530 of this weekly omnibus news and analysis radio and TV program. Now, thank you so much for joining us. All the best. Take care.